Hello, everybody, and welcome. Jeff Kavanaugh and Bryan Broaddus with you for our draft series for 105.3 The Fan. Remember, on April 16th that we will be doing Draft 101 there on 105.3thefan.com. We want all of you to be a part of it and ask your questions. But today we will do cornerbacks. We're going to do top 10s for every position group so that you can have access to all of that right there on 105.3thefan.com. How you doing, Bryan?
Doing well, Jeffrey. Thanks for kind of organizing all this. It's good to do content like this in this day and age.
We're going to assume that it's going to work. That's what
we're going
to assume this is going to work. So we're going to start with corner, position of Cowboys need, go through the top 10, and that'll give you enough names to know for the first 2 or 3 rounds of the Cowboys draft, although we'll, of course, go deeper than that. But let's start them off with a top 10. And the top corner in the 2020 draft class is Jeff Okudah from South Grand Prairie in Ohio State. And that's the end of that debate. Yes?
Yeah, no, that's, and what's really funny, though, is that he's like the top of the class and has been top of the class. And then everybody's trying to kind of who's 2, 3, 4, and 5. I know that's what we're going to try and figure out here. And everybody's list is a little bit different. But it's amazing that there wasn't another cornerback that was in that level. Usually in drafts, you'll have a corner 2 or 3 that kind of are all in that same level. But, boy, there's a clear divide between him and about who we're about to talk to.
Yeah, I'd love to have something to debate about at the top, but there's just nothing to debate about. That's the dude. And as Cowboy fans, you can't have him. If he fell to 8, 9, 10, we can talk about it because I'll go get him. Who's your second corner?
C.J. Henderson from Florida would be my second corner, and it's been that way since I've done this evaluation, Jeff. I mean, he's been the guy. I've been trying to find people to knock him out of that second hole, and I just haven't been able to do that. I love the length. I love the ball skills. I love his ability to cover, to stay in position, the way he runs. He went to the combine. I mean, I had him in that second hole even before the combine. He goes out and he runs 4.39, tests very well athletically. Medically, he's fine. So, yeah, he's going to be my second guy today.
Agreed. Now, I think where we may begin to diverge here is starting at number 3. I've moved Alabama's Trevon Diggs up to my third corner in this draft class because I love all of the measurables. I love what he can turn into. I don't think he's great with his back to the ball yet, but when he does find the ball, you can tell that he used to play receiver. This is Stephon Diggs' brother. He's got all the size, all the length, the physicality sometimes, but I really like the tools that he has to work with over some of the guys that I might think today I trust more. I'm playing upside, putting Trevon Diggs from Alabama as my third.
Yeah, no, and you're not wrong here. Everything you said about the player is absolutely right. And, kind of going back and watching some film of, Alabama's defense, you notice him a lot more, again, watching safeties and other players, defensive linemen and linebackers, all of a sudden he's showing up on tape. And, I think that's a good thing. I think you have him absolutely right. He is the third best guy medically. He's going to check out fine. Alabama players traditionally get a little banged up, and the wear and tear on them is pretty intense. But this is one that seems like we'll be ready to go once we get into training camp and things like that.
Who do you have as your fourth corner?
Right now, that would be Fulton from LSU, and so here's another guy that I think that if you look at. There's a lot of people that might have him in a little bit different spot. They might have him ahead of Diggs. Heck, they might have him ahead of Henderson, depending on what scouts you talk to around the league. But everybody seems to do believe, though, that he is a guy that you definitely have to consider. Could even be a first-round guy. The press coverage, the ability to stay with his guy, the length at which he plays with, there's a willingness to tackle there. So a lot of positivity about Fulton from LSU.
At the 5th cornerback spot in this draft class is where I get kind of risky on you because 5th is where I put Damon Arnett. So I have 2 Ohio State corners in my top 5. Arnett did not test great at the combine, but I think on tape he's just a really, really, really good player. So there are a couple of other guys that I could consider in front of him, Jeff Gladney at TCU and A.J. Terrell at Clemson, but I have Arnett fifth.
Yeah, I went the other way, Jeff. I went ahead and put Gladney in there as the fifth guy. And, and my thought about Gladney is, though, again, you're sitting there and you're watching wide receiver tape. And, I was watching Mims the other day from a Baylor play. And I was saying, okay, well, who is this guy that's covering him all over the field? Who's taking him out of this game and stuff like that? And there's, with Gladney, I love the fact that you'll see him, he can play both sides. He can play the left corner, he can play the right corner, he can even line up in the slot. He does a great job of competing. He doesn't give an inch in coverage, and that's what I really like about him. I'm impressed with the way he's able to move in order to play with this man. Guys try to double move him, guys try to take him on the slants, guys try to take him across the field, all that. He's just able to stay with it and with anybody. I mean, he could open, he could turn, he puts himself in position. I think he did a great job, like I said, in that Baylor game of defending of those receivers. I mean, they got down in the red zone and he was fierce down there. And that's what I need. I needed a corner that's competitive on all levels of the field right now.
So as a group, we'll call him our fifth corner for sure, because I had him right behind Arnett and graded pretty much the same. So that works for me. And then who is your sixth guy?
The sixth guy right now is A.J. Terrell from Clemson is my sixth guy. And I don't know if you agree with that or not. You probably don't.
I've got him right there.
Do you really?
Yep.
You want to talk about him, or you want me to give you the visit about him?
I like him. I think people are going to have a negative impression of him because they watched the national championship game and they watched LSU receivers make plays on him down the field. But I think
a lot of LSU receivers made plays. A lot of people this year.
Yeah, his tape is, I think, everywhere else, though, and even in that game, was pretty consistent in terms of being a good cover guy. It was just a matter of guys making plays at the catch point. I think Terrell's got a lot of ability as a corner, and he'll be deserving of being a guy that gets picked somewhere between 25 and 50, or maybe 51, 25 and 51.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to a couple of teams around the league that they have him as the second best corner on their board.
Okay.
And so, this is like you talk about this top five. It could go either way. We have that top corner, and then now you got the guys that are kind of people are trying to jockey around there. But, the thing I love about Terrell is that I've seen him cover receivers. I've seen him cover the tight ends in certain situations. I think he's got the quickness. I think the tape is better than what the workouts have been for him and stuff like that. So, he could be tough to get away from, and you watch these wide receivers try and run routes on him. He stays in position. He has a feel how to, knock the ball loose when it gets to the receiver. That's that ability to make it a contested play, get up there, punch the ball loose, rip the ball loose, get an offhand in there, play over that shoulder and try and make those plays. So, I love the way he moves. I love the way he turns. I think he's good in the hips. The LSU game was a tough game for him, but those LSU receivers, like I said, have made a lot of guys look bad this year.
Number seven.
Number seven. Who do you got for number seven? Let me tell you who I got for number
My
seven.
seventh would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It would be all the guys that we've talked about, because I would be including Damon Arnett, who you haven't had on your
Arnett's
list.
my guy. Yeah,
so now,
Arnett's my guy. Absolutely. And, with Arnett, there's people that are going to have questions about how well does he really run. And, I look at, when you watch Okudah play on the other side, people, in the Clemson game, in that playoff game, Clemson attacked Okudah. They didn't attack Arnett.
They did.
It was like, the heck with this. We don't care how good Okudah is. We're going to attack his side of the field. But with Arnett, I do see quickness. I see he gets his head around quickly to find the ball. I think he's able to turn, adjust. He's a flexible player. When you watch him, he'll play the coverage on the tight end like I was talking about. He does a great job of playing the ball in the air. He goes a little low as a tackler, but he can cover some ground when he's running. And I think this is a guy that if, you had a bad 40 time from him at the combine, and there's a couple other guys that are fall in this category, you could have gone to Ohio State and got him running faster if you wanted a better time. But
Yeah.
his film is really, really good because the way he tracks the football, the way he plays it in the air. He had a couple of questionable angles to the ball that I saw, but overall, I thought he stayed where he needed to be in routes, and he could play tight coverage. So, give me that type of guy. I think the height is good. I think the weight's good. He doesn't get bullied. You might have questions about the speed, the time speed, but I wouldn't let that bother me too much.
Okay, so we have the same names in the top 7, although a little bit of a different order at 8. Let's see if we disagree again, because I did let the combine move a guy down. Otherwise, I'd already gotten to the name Cameron Dantzler at Mississippi State, and I wonder if you have him next.
Yeah, Cameron Dantzler is my next player, and I'm not going to let that combine. Again, I understand out there. I'm sure there are people that are watching this that are evaluators, guys and gals that study this tape that say, you know what, hey, I watch Cameron Dantzler play. I'm watching him play against fast people, and I'm watching him stay with fast people, and I'm watching him cover fast people. And I again, that goes back to, if you want, I believe if we'd all gone to Starkville, Mississippi, which is a nice place to go, Stark Vegas, go out there and time him, we could have probably got a good time on him. These kids sometimes, that stage of working on the combine messes them up mentally. Sometimes guys shine, and I think Cameron Dantzler got in a little bit of a rut here. But man, I'll tell you what, I love the length. I love the ability to play the ball. I think that there is, the thing I do worry about him is that, that again, he's a guy that, well, I shouldn't say worried. The thing I like about him is he's not afraid to step up and take people on. I mean, there's a physical side to his game, and I appreciate that about him. I think he can be physical in press coverage. I think his best trait is ability to stay with the man and when the guy's on the line. When he plays in press coverage and then the guy releases on him, he's got the ability to jam, to stay with, to sink, to stay in position, to run the route. That's a sign of a good cornerback, is one that could stay in route the whole time, like he's running the route for the receiver. And I think Cameron Dantzler has some of that to his game.
I've got him 9th because I put Noah Igbenogany from Auburn in front of him. So I've got him dropped behind one guy, maybe a couple of guys, because I was a big Dantzler fan before the 4.64 at the combine. But I let it affect me, and I moved him down a little bit. So I have Noah Igbenogany, 8th, Auburn corner, because I've also seen that dude play against top-level competition, and he is a pest. And I think he's only going to get better and better. I think I watched him cover who was it? Was it Devontae Smith? I had to get my my Igbenogany notes.
You watch Alabama and LSU, that's really all you need to see. Those are some top flight receivers that cat was dealing with this
year. And he dealt with them really, really well. So I think Dantzler and Igbenogany at 8 and 9 is what I have. Where do you have Igbenogany? Is he here, or do you have
right behind?
Guy?
Yeah, behind Dantzler right here. And this guy's a former high school track athlete, so you knew he was going to run really, really, really well. And the foot quickness, the foot speed, that is not a problem with this guy. And he could be a hard guy to shake in coverage. He played the ball well in the air against Alabama, but he struggled some against LSU. And again, if you're going out and covering Alabama and LSU, you're going to get my consideration right there. But he does have some balance issues. I didn't feel like he tracked the ball very well in the Alabama game, the LSU game. But he was able to carry receivers across the field and stuff. That's how I always evaluate these receivers, or these corners. If they're getting inside on you and you're always in that trail position and you're always giving up plays, you're never denying the football, well, then I can't play with you, because receivers in the National Football League, everybody's attacking the middle of the field on these slants, these quick passes and stuff like that. You've got to be able to play in position like that. And this kid, he's able to do that. And I think the effort was really, really good. But sometimes the results aren't, and I mean the results as far as a tackler. But you'll take the quickness, you'll take the speed, you'll take the physicality which he plays, you'll take the ability that he comes across the field and can deny the football, and maybe live with the other things that are not his best traits.
My 10th corner is a wild card, Brian. I am going. A lot of people like Bryce Hall. A lot of people like Jalen Johnson. And those are the two guys that I could be wrong on in this draft that I don't trust. But I'm going with Amik Robertson. out of Louisiana Tech. He had 5 interceptions, 16 pass breakups last year. He's 5'8", but I think that he can step in and play the nickel corner in the NFL tomorrow. I think Amik Robertson, Louisiana Tech, that's my 10th corner.
I'll tell you what, he's a nice little player. There's no question about him. There's a couple of small corners in this draft. Holmes is the other kid from UCLA. When you talk to scouts, they've kind of got Holmes and Robinson right there next to each other. And I wouldn't be surprised to see one go ahead of the other, but they're both kind of in that small group. And I know you're really not a big fan of Holmes from UCLA. You saw
he just had one bad game. I saw one bad game where he got torched, and it hurt me.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of these guys have had some bad games. My last guy is maybe a little bit wild card too, but I really do like A.J. Green from Oklahoma State would be my guy. I don't know if you really had a chance to sit down and study him, Jeff. But here's a guy that kind of came in, had a bad 40 time. He plays a lot faster than his 40 time, I believe. The reaction, I saw stop-start quickness. He makes his share of plays on the ball. The ball tends to go in his direction. This guy causes turnovers in the way he plays. He's a little bit of a block-down tackler. I mean that block-down is he'll throw his body in there and try and cut the guy instead of wrapping him up. But, he's not afraid to throw the body around in order to make a play. Does a good job at jumping routes. He plays well with his eyes. I really, really like that about him. When he sees it, he's gone. He's off to the races. He's gonna find a way to make a play. He drives quickly from depth. You can talk about corners that play in zone and how well are they able to make plays going forward. I love all the thing about him. The length really, really helps him here. He's a guy at 6'2", and that's a positive thing for me. And so, I love a guy that can play like that. The length in the red zone is another thing. He's, the thing that you probably need to know a little bit more about him is, though, again, he's able to stay in position, and I think that's really, really important. Though you have to respect the way he competes. That's the last line of my assessment of him. But he was my 10th guy, A.J. Green, cornerback, Oklahoma State.
And that is the top 10 cornerbacks in the 2020 NFL draft. We will get you all the position groups to get you prepared for this thing. How far away are we? 2 weeks and change, huh? 2 weeks and a couple of days
now. Yeah.
Okay.
15 days. Yeah.
Well, we'll get you ready. Make sure you're checking 1053thefan.com, and you'll be able to find the top 10s at every position group, as well as tons of other video content that you need. And we'll see you on the G-Bag Nation.